All right, guys, so we have the Kentucky Patriot with us, and we're going to talk about prepping and current events. And we're also going to talk about EDC, concealed carry, and personal protection. And that'll be in a later video. But in this video, we're just going to talk about prepping and current events. And for those of you guys who don't know who Kentucky Patriot is, he's a YouTuber. He's been on YouTube for a couple of years, right? Like 5 years or something?
Probably somewhere in there. Yes, sir.
And what would you say you specialize in on your channel? Mostly ballistics, self-defense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, he does ballistics, firearms, self-defense. Great channel. A lot of information on concealed carry and just wealth of information on his channel. So I highly recommend you guys check his channel out. Subscribe if you like his content, which I'm sure you will. So we're going to start with some prepping questions, and I'm going to pick his brain a little bit about prepping and current events. So do you consider yourself a preparedness-minded person or quote-unquote a prepper? If so, what got you into prepping? And was there like a specific event or events in your life that motivated you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's such an honor. I really appreciate you. You got a fantastic channel, just a fantastic gentleman. So thank you so much for having me on. Well, I'll be honest. I'm from Kentucky, which you can probably tell by my accent. I'm a hillbilly. I was raised, up around the rural area, hunting, fishing, farming, that kind of environment. But to be honest with you, I never really give it any thought whatsoever till I was in college. And when I was in college, actually, I was in another state when the terrorist attack happened of 9/11. And the first thing I thought of was home. I wasn't married at the time, didn't have kids. The first thing I thought of was home and mom and dad. And that, I think, kind of got the ball rolling a little bit for me. And then after I got back home, I lived in a small house there in a small town, and I had a home invasion happen in broad daylight. And it was a very small town. So I knew the guy that owned the store beside of me. I knew the guy that there's the postmaster across the street. There's the post office. And they called me and said they seen a guy go in my house in broad daylight. Literally just busted in the door in broad daylight.
Wow.
So I wasn't married again at the time, but after then I got married. And then I had kids. It was kind of a process for me, like a whole mindset change, from concealed carry to, I've always had guns for home defense, but I never really, we lived in rural America, here and where everybody knew everybody. So crime really wasn't,
right.
It was a shock when somebody went in my house in broad daylight. They called me at work and told me. I was shocked. So that kind of got my mind changed. I started getting an alarm system. Then I started thinking ahead. And I won't try to, ramble on too long here, but that kind of started getting me, in concealed carry, more than just a home defense by a bedside gun. I started realizing, things can happen. Things do go south. And then it kind of progressed on into when I started having kids. I thought even more so along those lines, to alarm systems, to camera systems, to, like I said, self-defense all the time, not just when you think something's going to happen per se, like in a home defense situation. I started carrying every day, even to town, anywhere, because, unfortunately, we never know what's going to happen. So then I started kind of worrying about myself physically, or my kids physically, home defense, or, a mugging or an attack or whatever. And then all this time, there's other things happen too, Hurricane Katrina. And there's a lot of other things, over the course of time that had happened that kind of helped mold me and shape me. But then I started thinking about food, water, storage, long term, and the older I get, hopefully I'm getting a little bit wiser with age, the more I kind of see how society's going, and to see kind of you got cargo ships out here that's, you got the grocery store starting to get bare, with the if I can say that word on your channel. I don't want to get you flagged, but I'm talking about the where toilet paper was. It was a scarce, and we literally seen videos of people fist fighting over toilet paper. So that really, I think, is opening to a lot of people that if they're literally going to fist fight over toilet paper, which I know it's hard to believe, but really it's not a necessity. People for hundreds of years never had it. You know what I mean? So if they're going to literally fist fight over that, what's going to happen if the food supply runs out, or medicine supplies, or the police department, if things begin to break down like it did in Hurricane Katrina. And I'm sorry that answer was so long.
Oh no, that was good. So it sounds like there's like two aspects. One thing I noticed about your channel is you're very focused on personal defense, which is pretty unique, I think, because you have like a lot of like tactical oriented channels that are just focused on like kicking indoors and doing all the tactical stuff. But like your channel is unique, that like you focus a lot on like the everyday person, the average Joe, how you can protect yourself, concealed carry, EDC. So it's just interesting how your mindset is, and you're so focused on that. So was it really only just that one situation, that broad daylight, that really made you think that way? Or is it just a combination of other factors? I mean, that's pretty interesting. Have you ever had like personal situations where maybe you got attacked or stuff like that? Have you ever had situations like that happen to you?
Not really. Little things, but nothing major, other than the time, and I made a video about it, one of my earlier videos about the importance of consistent carry, where we were actually in a parking lot in broad daylight. And this is what's amazing. This is why I made the video about importance of consistent carry. We were in a well-lit area in a Cracker Barrel. So It wasn't like we were up a dark alley. And this, my kids were smaller. My little boy was about 2, and my wife was buckling him in on her side, and I had my little girl. And I might kind of help my little girl, but she didn't have to be buckled in. She's big to kind of do it herself. When we were approached by 2 guys, I'll tell a lot more about it in the video, the importance of consistent carry. But we were approached by 2 men, and a lot of people say, "Oh, you got to be able to defend yourself." But in real life, if you start getting attacked by multiple assailants, the odds of it being a good day is pretty slim, just to be honest. I mean, I know we love Chuck Norris, we love the movies, we love Hollywood and MMA, but in the real world, especially if they have weapons. So I pulled my firearm, they split, end of story. But when I got back on the interstate, it kind of hit me like an adrenaline dump. And I told my wife, I said, what if I wouldn't have had that gun? What if thinking I'm just going on vacation, it's broad daylight, we're safe, but things happen fast, and I think, 9/11, like I said, Hurricane Katrina, there's a lot of world events that I think really shaped, my mindset. But honestly, I think actually having a home invasion in broad daylight, I wasn't married at the time, but my mindset was, what if I would have been? What if my wife would have been home? What if my kids would have been home? If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. So then when I had kids after that, I thought about that. What if they would have been there? And then I think that kind of really got the ball rolling of me thinking, hey, it's better to think ahead and be a little bit more prepared. It's better to be safe and sorry. Sure.
So yeah, it sounds like world events motivated you a lot too. Okay. So I guess that kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask you what type of natural disasters or SHTF situations have you lived through, besides everything going on now with the pandemic, like, any hurricanes, blizzards? You kind of mentioned one little self-defense situation, but have you ever had any like SHTF, like power go out in your area? And if so, what did you learn from it? Like, for example, when I lived in New York, we had Hurricane Sandy, which was really bad. And some places where I lived had no power for like 2 weeks or more. I've had like various ice storms and snowstorms take the power out for a few days. Have you had stuff like that happen to your area? And what did you learn from it?
Well, I don't want to make it sound bigger than what it is, like we really had a blizzard or anything. It wasn't anything like that. But just last year, we had a huge ice storm with some snow. So we had snow, ice, and snow. And the power was out for, I'm going to guess, 3 or 4 days. And it come back on for a little bit, and it was out for 3 or 4 more days, which we were fine. But it just kind of amazes me, the mentality of people. And I'm not knocking anybody, any of my friends or neighbors, but we had people call us that just in 4 days not having electricity. You know what I mean? They were asking me to go help them get gas for the generator, which I didn't care to help anybody. But come to find out, it wasn't for food or oxygen, is because their kids was about ready to lose power for their Nintendo, and which it's fine, but they didn't have a 4-wheel drive. So you live here in the hills of Eastern Kentucky. You've got several vehicles and not one 4-wheel drive, and you've got a generator. But my kids have a Nintendo too. I'm not against Nintendo, but you see what I'm saying? Their worries was, oh my gosh, we're going to run out of a Nintendo entertainment system for 4 days. And that was their worry. And they're like, man, can you go get me some gas? I don't have a 4-wheel drive. Sure, I'll help anybody. But the thing of it is, if we are to the point in 4 days we're panicking over Nintendo, I wonder how it would have been if it had been a week or 2 weeks or 6 weeks or really more. I won't say this was a major natural disaster. I mean, we didn't have power, we didn't have water for for basically a week or more, but nothing dangerous, nothing long term. I mean, society didn't break down, but what if it would have started eroding? Then what would have happened?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I kind of try to think ahead. What if things would have progressed worse?
Sure. Yeah, sounds like people don't have their priorities. Yeah, their priorities are screwed up. So with everything going on in the past year or so, have you changed anything with your preparedness? Have you stocked up on different items that maybe before you didn't stock up on, or we have an ammo shortage now? Is there anything that you changed in your preparedness?
Well, I always try to learn. That's why I watch people like you, and I enjoy your channel. I try to glean from everybody. But honestly, I haven't really changed much. We just come up with, oh, that's a good idea, or that's a good idea. I mean, we've kind of got what we've got, but to add or change, or I think we're always kind of doing that. If we see something, hey, this will come in handy. This is a good price on this. I know we've got this, but we might go add a little bit more just in case. I think it's kind of, my opinion, it's always like it's an evolution of learning and evolving, because if I didn't think I could evolve, then I would never watch another channel, or I'd never try to glean or read a book or do anything. Sure. I would just say, I've got it all figured out, which that's why I kind of started my channel. Like you'd mentioned, I do not claim to be a know-it-all in anything, in firearms, in self-defense, in prepping. But this is my hobby. This is my likes. I've studied this stuff for years. So if I can help somebody or give them an idea or a tip, I feel like this community is a really good community, really great group of people. And if we can help each other and glean from each other, and there's 2 or 3 things you watch on my channels, like, hey, that I picked that up. That's a good tip. And I pick up all kinds of things from your channel and think, hey, that's a good idea. I'm going to try that. I probably do need to add more of that. I think it's more of a evolving than anything. But yeah, well, we evolve, we change, we get different bags, we get different, and for different scenarios, if we want to go for a day or a week, or if we're going to bug in or bug out, we always try to, we don't want to live paranoid, but we always want to kind of be prepared. If this, what are we going to do? And we train our kids to know what to do, not only in a fire or a tornado or home invasion, all these scenarios, just like you would in a school, a tornado drill or whatever. The more we kind of go over this stuff and we're prepared, I think the better off we're going to be if we're called upon to,
actually
survive in a situation.
Right. Have you ramped up your prepping? Would you say you're oh crap, I got to really get some stuff because I'm worried, there's going to be some shortage. Have you ramped it up? Have you been buying more than you normally would prior to let's say 2020?
Probably not, to be honest with you. I mean, I kind of have, but to be honest with you, I just think it's kind of been brought to light more, because I think before 2020, I think people looked at my channel and me and probably our community, honestly, more as a tinfoil hat guy, like, oh, you guys, what are you worried about? Why are you scared? Why are you doing this? Why are you, oh, you guys are foolish. To people that had that mindset, so like, hey, and then they start asking me questions. Same thing with self-defense. When this all happened, with stuff and you couldn't get ammo and stuff, people that wasn't even gun people were calling me like, where do I get a gun? Where do I get ammo? I think now we're looked at as in a better light as far as, the tinfoil hat guy. I think they're like, maybe there is something to it. And so I didn't have to change a whole lot. So, and that's what I've always said through the years. And ammo, I never bought a gigantic bulk. If I was somewhere and they had a case of ammo for sale, it was a good price, I picked it up here, picked it up there, picked it up along the way. So that way, if you do run into a shortage, you're not paying an absolute war price for it or doing without. You know what I mean? You have it all along. So you bought it in little bits. So now that there's an ammo shortage, now I've told my little boy, he loves to shoot. Ammo dumps and 5.56, he loves it. But that's kind of a thing of the past, or at least for right now. You know what I mean? I've got plenty, but I don't want to be dumping ammo. I don't care if him shooting. We hunt, we go have fun at the range, but we're not going to do the mag dumps like we used to, just to be real.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually just uploaded a video about that. I said that, when you go shooting now, have a very specific plan what you're doing. Don't just go in there and, dump mags and waste your ammo. Have a specific reason why you're there. Don't just, blow it all away. So,
yes, sir. And even reloading, you even try to reloading, it's hard to get primers. It's hard to get brass. It's hard to get, powder.
Even
so
bullets.
It's not just a simple solution that it used to be.
Yeah. There's a huge shortage of even bullets now too. Like first it was powder. I'm sure you noticed like the powder was out, then it was primers, then cases, and now it's just straight up like bullets, like Nosler and some of those big companies, they ran out of bullets. I mean, it's crazy.
Yes, sir.
Insane.
Yes, sir.
And they have huge factories. I mean, you wouldn't even think that would ever happen. It's pretty insane. So let me just see here. What are some basic items you think people should have in their bug out bags, or like must have items that people should put in their bug out bags? What would you say? A couple of them that stick out to you.
Now, if you're literally just talking go bags, like something you got to grab in the middle of the night and take off, nothing that you can prepare for. You know what I mean? I mean, like literally there's a fire, there's a chemical spill, there's something, even a hurricane, I think I have a lot more time to prepare. You see what I'm saying? But if you're talking about just grab and go, literally a bag, you got to have a firearm at least with you, in my opinion. So I at least have a firearm on me. But in my bag, I would absolutely want some medical supplies, tourniquet, whatever the case may be. My med kit has changed, evolved to different things, but definitely some med kits, definitely some a few little tools, maybe some water, because I think people don't realize what may I'm in pretty good shape, but if it's hot out or whatever, and you've got to carry a kid, or you've got to carry bags, or you can't just drive, you have to get out and walk or whatever, water can be a valuable resource. Something like a life straw is really handy. I probably don't have anything different than anybody else does in that go bag, because my go bag isn't well stocked. It's literally just a go bag that I can grab. You know what I mean? It's not like I have 3 days to prepare for this hurricane, so I'm going to make sure that I get my car loaded. I'm going to take what I need. You know what I'm saying? This is just the middle of the night go bag, but I would definitely grab some kind of a weapon, something to protect myself, some kind of medical, and some kinds. And if you got kids, that's something else to worry about too. I know it sounds silly, but you may need to take like snacks or little things, especially if you got babies, wipes, diapers. I mean, these things can really be necessary for you, because most people, when they think of a go bag, it's not just them. They usually have a family, a kid, a wife, a parent, an elderly, somebody else to think about as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't really see a lot of preppers talking about putting diapers and snacks in there for their kids. They always talk about their own bags. That's a good point. What do you think are some things that maybe people overlook when it comes to bug out bags? Like things that, like they overlook, they should have it and they don't have it, or just bugging out in general. What are some things you think people overlook?
My opinion, now I've said this before, but I think a real world scenario, depends where you live. Like if you're in a high rise apartment in a big city, it's definitely a bug out situation. But if you, like you said, in a rural area, I think bugging in is going to be so much more realistic than bugging out, because I can't think of very many scenarios where I live now where bugging out would be something that I would have to do, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your home is your castle. And we need to treat it as such. I mean, that's why, I don't want the neighbors to go by and me look like an impenetrable fortress, like I'm, don't want anybody around me, like that paranoid guy, but your home needs to be your castle and very hard to breach. So you're better off, to me, defending the homestead than you would be bugging out. But like you said, if you live somewhere where there's a chemical spill, where there's hurricanes, where high-rise apartments, now you don't want to be in a rural area, if the in a Katrina-like situation when it hits the fan. So a bug out bag, like I said, I think a big thing is your kids. I think that is the one thing people do overlook, especially if they're small. If they're 12 or 14, they'll get it. But if they're tiny, they're 2 or 3, and they start getting fussy, and then they start getting fussy, they start getting irritable, things start happening. You didn't bring diapers, you didn't bring them anything to eat, they're thirsty, they're hungry. Well, you're already in a stressful situation, your kid's not calm, it can make things a lot worse for you, and it's nothing the kid can help. But they're just kids. But if they're tiny, we need, whether it's a bottle, a pacifier, we need to make sure that they are well taken care of too. Because if you're going to screen your child with a dirty diaper that's nasty, thirsty, it can make you for really bad day even worse.
That's interesting. That's a good answer. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't heard that before. That's a great point. I mean, yeah, you don't want your kids to be unhappy too, and obviously that could possibly compromise your security, right? I mean, if your kids are miserable and they start complaining, I'm hungry, I'm tired, and they could give away your position or something, right? So
absolutely.
That's a great one. I haven't heard that one yet from anybody. Now, what would you say are some like must-have preps people should have in their house? Like you said, if you're bugging in, if you live in a reasonably safe area, you're not like in the middle of a big city, right? So you feel pretty safe where you are. You want to bug in. What would be some like must-haves? Obviously, food and water, right?
Absolutely, yes. And a means to get water, because when we had our ice storm, we had no water or electric. So you have to have some means of getting water year around. Okay. And really, to me, most people are very intelligent. They really are. Humans are intelligent creatures. Just think about what you would need for 2 weeks. That's what I try to do, or a month. Think what I would need. And even a lot of things I think people overlook is just comfort. Like, I love coffee. I drink coffee daylight to dark. So people say, I could do without coffee. I do it all the time. But still, in a stressful situation, just to have a coffee, just something calm, So I would look about what your normal life is, and you want that to maintain that. Eating, drinking, if it's coffee, whatever the case may be. Heat's a big thing. If electric's out, do you have another source of heat or a third source of heat? I like a plan A, B, and C, to be honest with you. D, E, F, G, if you can, I don't like to depend on one or two things. Do you have a grill out back? Can you heat your home? Can you cook? Can you maintain? Like I said, if you got kids, it's a whole nother issue as well. But I like to be able to do everything I need to do, whether it's cook, eat, drink, whatever the case may be, without having to leave the house. I don't want to have to, try to go hunt for food, especially. And I think it's really scary sometimes when you look at people's survival days of food and water. It may be a day or 2 or 3 or 4. I think we certainly need to have way more than that. But like I said, heat, air, conditioning, especially if you got somebody elderly that can't handle the heat. You don't have air conditioning. You got to have some kind of way to stir the air. Everybody's scenario is different, but I honestly, maybe it's because I'm spoiled, but I like to have a good comfort level. So if I don't have electricity or water for 4 days, I don't want to miss out. I just want to pretty much go like nothing ever happened. And if that takes me preparing a little bit to, get right there, then I think that's what we ought to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people overlook that. They stock up on like MREs and stuff, and it's like, are you actually going to eat MREs for 2 weeks straight? Have you ever done that? Like it could be a shock, if it doesn't taste. It's not like a warm steak,
You're absolutely right. And I said the same thing with I don't know if they call them ramen or ramen noodles, wherever you're from, but I'm talking about the things that's like 10 cents. I'm not saying that those are wrong. You shouldn't have that, but people will buy a case of them and think they're going to live off that for a month. I mean, there's no nutrition. You're not going to get any energy, strength, vitamins, minerals. You still want to be able to maintain a pretty good, healthy lifestyle. If you're going to be able to, survive, you can't. Your body's already in a stressful situation, so you need to nourish it and feed it and take care of it. And like I said, we may not be able to go to the grocery store and get a watermelon and fresh fruits or vegetables. I still like to maintain a pretty good level of lifestyle of living, nutritionally and taste, and for our bodies to be able to survive and to thrive.
Right. Yeah. Thrive is a good point, right? Because if you're going to defend your castle, your fortress, if you're not healthy yourself, how are you going to defend your family? And, just you got to have good quality food as well. Like you said, that's a good point. And comfort items, that mental comfort definitely helps in a tough situation. That's a great point. What would you say are some things that preppers overlook? I mean, it could be something physical, could be like a mentality, philosophy, tactics, what they expect. Like I think a lot of preppers have like a fantasy of what's going to happen. Like, what are some things that you think preppers don't really consider when they're making their plans and stocking up and stuff like that?
Well, I'm new to this channel, so I hope nobody thinks I'm talking down to anybody or I'm belittling anybody, because that's not me at all. I'm doing my best to help. But I honestly think not everybody, not across the board, but most or a lot, I'll say, of preppers and people in general are not realistic in what they think is going to happen. And what I mean by this is, I'm not trying to be, like I said, a smart aleck or talk down to anybody, but there's somebody that, maybe kind of let their self go and didn't really take care of themselves, didn't really train, didn't really do anything as far as hunting or fishing, but they've watched the movie Rambo. So they think, well, if society breaks down, I'm going to go in the wilderness and I'm going to survive a month because I know how to hunt. Well, even if you kill an animal, what are you going to do about water? What are you going to do about cooking it? What are you going to do about shelter? And you really think you're going to take that gun out or a knife or whatever and live off the land for a month? I don't think it's feasible. I don't think it's realistic, especially if it's cold, if it's hot. So I think we need to be more realistic, because I think people are, thinking, I can do this, I'm tough, I'm this. But when you really put yourself in a situation that's stressful, that's dangerous, that's a terrible situation, I don't think people are capable of doing what they feel like they're capable of doing. Even if it's hiking, even if you have to walk a long way, I can do that. Well, yeah, you could when you're 20, but now years have gone by. I mean, can you now? I mean, can you run? Can you, we don't know what's going to be asked of us or called upon us. I mean, I just don't think a lot of people really have thought it through, and they think, I'm going to be all right, I can do this, I can do that. And they don't realize that what the situation, how dire it could be, and what we may or may not be able to do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I think people don't have realistic expectations sometimes. Too much fantasy, maybe a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're an outdoorsman. I mean, you hunt and fish, so I mean, it's people think, I'm just going to go and shoot a deer. I mean, how many seasons? I've gone many seasons without shooting a deer, and that's being in the woods every day for a week straight, not seeing a buck or anything, and sitting out there all day. I mean, if I had to actually live like that, I would be starving. I'd be eating grubs or something.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid that, because now we have hunting seasons, that way they'll maintain a healthy herd. They watch the herd, they'll allow so many deer. If it's really a terrible situation and it's been bad for a while, hunting season's out the door, so everybody's going to be hunting everything they can find. So the food's then going to be scarce. And I'm all for gardening. My little boy he's loved a tractor since he's been born. But here's the thing: people's like, well, I'll just grow my food. It's winter. I mean, you're not going to grow anything in November, December, January. You know what I mean? I mean, to be able just to think I'm going to go grow my food, or I'm just going to hunt, or I'm just going to and survive, I don't think is realistic. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Especially the gardening aspect too. You got to think about what you do in the winter and stuff. And what if your crop fails? Crops fail. People don't realize. I mean, if you have a farming background, that sometimes your crops fail. The weather's bad. You have early frost, or there's not enough rain, and your crops don't grow the way they're supposed to. It can happen, and if you put all your eggs in one basket, you could be in a bad situation.
And even if everything does go well for you as far as gardening, if it's a dire situation where kids and people and families are starving, they're not going to leave your garden alone. I don't mean it the way it sounds, but it's not, you're not going to have this big, beautiful garden, people starving. It's just not going to happen. It's just not, they're not going to walk by and say, boy, he's got a good looking garden. I've not ate in 3 days. You know what I mean? And it's going to be tough.
Yeah. You probably have to put barbed wire fencing around it. Yeah. So would you say, firearms seem to be a strong point for you? What would you say, every concerned citizen or, prepper, patriot, what kind of firearms would you recommend for, basic firearms that you think everyone should have?
If you don't have any, if you don't have one firearm,
if you don't have any, and you
that you get would be a carry gun, because that way you could at least have it with you all the time. because if you have a shotgun, it may be great for home defense, or if you get an AR, you may be great for certain aspects, but it's going to be useless to you if you have to travel or you have to drive. You know what I'm saying? So if I can only get one gun, I would definitely recommend a pistol that you can carry with you all the time. And then use it as well for home defense. There's better options for home defense, but that at least will cover everything, the whole spectrum, where a rifle or shotgun would not. The shotgun and rifle is great for home defense, but they do not meet the, you can't get an inside the waistband for your Mossberg. You know what I'm saying? So I would have something that you have with you always.
Yeah. That's a good. So you recommend carry gun. What about like long guns? Like, you recommend obviously some kind of 12 gauge or 20 gauge, maybe like a Mossberg or what, Remington 870, something that you can hunt with, maybe, right?
Yes, I think a shotgun is probably without a doubt, the most versatile gun, because literally you can hunt everything from a moose to a rabbit to a squirrel to a duck to a bird to a turkey to anything. Slug. I don't know if anybody has watched any videos. I've made several with a slug. People don't understand the power of a slug. And it's not a long range gun. It loses velocity really quick, but a slug is devastating, especially for like a home defense or for deer hunting or something. You got buckshot, which is good for home defense, and then bird shot. So basically you can use this for defense. You can use this for hunting. And it's not just, you can literally carry 2 or 3 different shells with you and hunt basically anything in North America. You know what I mean? So it's a very versatile gun. And they're very inexpensive compared to a lot of your other options. So I would definitely have a few shotguns on hand.
Few shotguns.
Yeah.
Would you say so? In order, let's say someone had money and they wanted to buy a couple different things, right? So you would say get the carry gun first.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Then afterwards, what would you say after that? Shotgun? Or something else.
Yeah. Now, to me, they all have their own unique skills and abilities. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, if you want a 4-wheel drive, you want a van to haul the kids to the soccer games, but you need a 4-wheel drive to get through the snow, but you also need a truck to work on the farm. None of those are interchangeable. You see what I'm saying? So I think a carry gun and a shotgun are both fantastic, but they're not interchangeable. And I would definitely have rifles too. Both for hunting. If you want to get some bolt action for hunting or whatever, that's fine. But I always recommend an AR, an AK, or both, because you got more magazine capacity. They're great for home defense. They're great for your go bag. I mean, you can literally, those ARs and M4s are very light. You can literally throw one over your shoulder, and it's very lightweight, and you can take a couple magazines and you've got 60 rounds. If you're getting bolt action, you're going to have 6 rounds. Or a shotgun. Yeah. That's the. I mean, everything's got pros and cons, including firearms. A shotgun, that's its problem, is capacity. You have 5 or 6 in the tube. That's it, and you really can't carry many. You put a box or 2 of ammo in your go bag. It's like, oh my goodness, that's shotgun. You put 60 rounds of an AK or an AR and you're good to go. So everything has its pros and cons. I don't think they're interchangeable, but I would recommend right off the bat, make sure the first thing's a carry gun. Then I would look to a shotgun, which are they're really cheap. You can get a good quality Mossberg, Benelli, Remington, very cheap. And then I would definitely get a fighting rifle, whether it's AK, AR style, something, whatever. And then then after that, I would definitely try to get a hunting rifle too. Some kind of 30 32, 43, something like that. My opinion.
Okay. That's good. So let's say you had to bug out for. I mean, you said you're in a safe location where you are now. You're in a rural area. You're in the country. It's not like there's mobs and mobs of people that are going to be threatening to kick in your door. But if, let's say, for whatever reason you did have to leave, and you could only take one long gun and one sidearm, what would they be and why?
The sidearm is easy. That'd be my everyday carry. I carry a Smith & Wesson M&P compact 40 caliber. It's pretty powerful, and it holds a lot, a pretty good capacity for me to be able to conceal it. So I've got a great holster for it. I can run, do whatever. That would definitely be my sidearm. The long gun would probably be just really kind of the situation, but it would be an AK or an AR, definitely. And I've got mags already loaded of both of them ready to go. To be honest with you, me knowing me, I would probably grab one, tell my wife to grab the other one. So I would have both, to be honest with you.
Okay.
At least a couple of fighting rifles.
Okay. Okay. So you go for the AK or AR for the long gun.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's been a lot of interest in the past year or so in firearms, and maybe because people think the world is ending. There's been a lot of ammo shortages and gun shortages. There's a lot of new shooters. Being someone who's done a lot of ballistics testing, I consider you like a firearms, expert. What are some tips that you have for people that are, just starting out? There's a lot of new shooters now. What would you, just general tips, and also tips for women, children, and elderly that want to get into protecting themselves?
Okay, well, that's a really good question, because women, children, and elderly absolutely have a great, huge place in the firearms community. Just because somebody may not be able to shoot a 12 gauge with the 3-inch magnums or a turkey load doesn't mean that they can't shoot anything. Like I said, AR has no recoil. There's all kinds of guns that'll fit everybody. So yes, everybody, is totally capable. That's a really good point. But what I would say, if you've never really been around firearms, is really be careful about the projectile. What people don't understand is a lot of times in a situation, they'll only see their target, but they forget what target is, what's behind their target, or if they miss the intended target, because we don't want collateral damage. And even if you're trying to defend your home or whatever, and that's the problem with a rifle. I mean, a rifle has a range that people won't believe that's deadly. So even if you hit your target, it can still go through and hurt somebody else. Or if you miss the target, it can shoot way over a berm or something, hurt somebody, a kid or something way. So even in home defense without a survival situation, you want to watch how close your neighbors are. And if you've got neighbors pretty close, probably a rifle is not a good choice. And you probably ought to go with a shotgun, because a shotgun, even a slug, is devastating at room distances. But after 100 yards, it starts losing quick. Where a rifle at 500 yards is still extremely deadly, But now if you use something like birdshot after 50, 60 yards, it starts, so if you want to use birdshot, if you got close neighbors. So it's the projectile that you're using. I try to do a little bit of research and find out what projectile you're using and what's best for your situation. If you live in a rural area and you got an AK or an AR, it doesn't matter. But if you got an AK or an AR and you live in an apartment or a trailer park or a house where, the houses are close by in the city, they pass through walls. They are very, very dangerous. So I would kind of pay attention to the projectile and what that actual round and firearm is capable of.
Okay. So yeah, ballistics and projectiles. That's a good one. A lot of people don't really think about that. That's very true. Would you say also like terminal ballistics, that might be something that people should consider too, making sure that the ammo they get can actually do the job, that it's you're buying it for? Because there's a lot of different companies out there that promise everything, and some of them are just gimmicks. Some of them actually work. Would you say maybe like testing your ammo? I know you do that a lot. You do a lot of testing. You say that people should maybe like watch videos and, research what ammo is good and then test it in their gun, right? Would you say that's a good idea?
Absolutely. That's brilliant. That's really what I do a lot is a lot of the testing. And I've done this for years. So when YouTube come along, it just at my alley. But I always want to know what that projectile will do, what it won't do, because you'd be surprised. And it's scary. Even people that use like an AR for home defense. I've heard people say, and I've made a video about this, that they use an AR because that bullet's going so fast when it hits, sheetrock, it disintegrates. Wow. So they're shooting toward their kids or thinking that bullet's going to disintegrate when it hits. It'll go through umpteen interior walls. And I mean, I've done a video on it, and it'll go. So please don't think that. So it's very important to know what your bullet will do. And even in handguns or any caliber, you'll be surprised at the people that think they're gun will or won't do a certain thing. Like, oh, it won't penetrate, and when it absolutely will, and it's dangerous. Or they'll say, oh, my gun's going to stop a grizzly bear, and you're sitting there thinking, you're going to make that grizzly. You're better off with bear spray. You know what I mean? But and I'm not making fun or trying to, but we really people do need to kind of watch or have some research, or they'll think, oh, this will get me out of a jam. That's all I need. And, like I said, you never know what you're going to face. So you want enough gun, but you also want to know what that bullet's capable of or what it's not capable of. And it is amazing. Even like you take a 9mm, what one round will do compared to the next one, or what one bullet design will do compared to the next one. Some of them are fragmenting. Some of them are hollow points. Some of them won't expand right. Some of them expand great. Some of them won't get enough penetration to get to the vitals, according to the ballistics, the FBI test. Some goes too far and over penetrates. So you got to worry about that. So, so I think it's very important to kind of do your homework and do your own testing and make sure whatever ammo, I don't care what ammo it is, make sure it runs good in your gun, because you can have the best ammo in the world, and if there's a jam, it's going to be a bad day.
Right. Sure. And obviously your channel is a good resource for testing of ammo, right? You test a lot of different ammo, especially service calibers. You test a lot of like 9mm and 40 and stuff like that. Yeah. Shotguns, rifles. I don't do a whole lot of 45 because I don't consider that to be a carry gun. A lot of people do, but I do not. I love 1911s. I have two. Absolutely my favorite gun of all time. But to me, carrying a 1911 isn't feasible. It's just too big. I can't conceal it. It's just too big. Mm-hmm. So I've been testing on them, showing how well they work. But the problem of it is when you start getting a carry gun in 45, the government model that it was built for on a 1911 platform, the barrel, let's say it's this long. I know that this isn't scientific, but I'm just showing you this. Right. So it's already a slow moving bullet. So it's 230 grain slow moving bullet going 800-900 feet a second. So, and I've showed that it was very capable. But the problem is when you start shorten that barrel, you're already taking a slow moving bullet and reducing the velocity even more. And because the bullet is so fat, they call them short and fat, you know what I mean? Because so now that you've got a concealed carry gun, you all have this much this much magazine capacity. So instead of this many rounds of 9, this many rounds of 40, now you've only got 4 or 5 rounds of an already slow bullet that's now moving slower. You see what I'm saying? Right. So even I'm a huge 45 fan. I love my 1911. I would carry it in a heartbeat if I could. But it's too big, so I can't. And then I'm not a big fan of shortening that barrel, the ballistics, then it changes the game. You see what I'm saying? So you can't get a 45 in a pocket pistol and think you're going to get the same results as you did of that John Moses Browning design of a 1911, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And we're going to do a whole nother video on carry guns. It's going to be really interesting. But real quick, before I move on, I was just going to ask you, what are your thoughts about, because we're talking about 1911s. I wanted to get a 1911 and 10mm. What do you think about that as far as maybe EDC that with the right ammo? What do you think about that? Oh, absolutely. 10mm or maybe, is a great choice. And 1911 is a great choice. And I know people that do carry them every day. I'm just saying for me, it's too big. It's just too big for me to carry comfortably concealed. Right. But 10mm is an absolute wonderful platform. I almost bought my 1911, my Colt, in 10mm. I almost got the Delta Elite. I sure did. I looked at it about 1 million times. This was before the so 45 ammo is available everywhere, and I reload 45, so that was one other plus. I had to buy a whole new set of dies of 10s and everything. And at that time, I literally could go to any of the stores around here, and I could find 45 in every grain, from 185 to 230 to Hornady to Federal to, I could have my heyday of anything I wanted. 10mm, I'd go in, and I may have one choice, or may have two choices, or, what I'm saying? I didn't have the variety, so I thought, well, with reloading and, availability, I'm going to go with the 45. But now, as far as defense, a 10mm is a fantastic round for carry. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I think some police department went to it. I don't know if it was Tennessee or some. I don't remember. I think some police department actually went. The FBI did for a while, and then they backed off. Now they're back to 9. But the 10mm is a great round. Yeah, those Delta Elites are hard to find. I was looking around; they're hard to find. I think they're all sold out now. Oh, well.
Everything's hard to find now, seems like.
So what would you say are, continuing on with firearms, would you say your favorite defensive cartridges are for defense against two-legged threats? You know, pistol, like what kind of pistol cartridges do you like? You like 40, obviously.
No, you're talking about for EDC?
Yeah, EDC. Yeah, everyday carry, and then also maybe home defense.
Okay, honestly, I've made videos about this. I don't like pistol calibers for home defense because the only reason I carry a 40 is because I can't carry a shotgun. The only reason I carry a 40 is because I can't carry a rifle. Even if you use a 45, a 10 millimeter, a 9 millimeter, you're still going to get nowhere near the foot-pounds of energy of a 12-gauge slug or a rifle. You see what I'm saying?
Sure,
so
absolutely.
I would definitely recommend, unless that's all you've got, then use a handgun. I know a lot of people like handguns for home defense. That's fine. If you do, I would definitely recommend a 10 millimeter or something. I wouldn't want something really small. That's my personal opinion. The same thing with if you do like a pistol, I recommend a revolver. But I always like to go for home defense 357 Magnum and up, 44, 454, whatever. I like a big caliber because if somebody's breaking into your house in the middle of the night, it's probably you or them. Okay, and I want something that I don't want to shoot them and they die 3 days later. I want to neutralize the threat now. You know what I'm saying? So if I have to, 9-pellet double-aught buck or a slug or a rifle, that's what I want. But that's why I don't like a handgun round, because I've done a video even on carbines, like 9 millimeter carbine. I know you get more out of the longer barrel, but long story short, I would try for concealed carry to get as big a gun with the most capacity and the most power that you can possibly handle, that you can carry comfortably. So if it's a small 9 millimeter, then it's a small 9 millimeter. If you can carry a 10 millimeter comfortably and you'll carry it every day, you won't say, it's not uncomfortable, and talk yourself out of carrying it. If you'll carry a 10 millimeter, I'd recommend a 10 millimeter. Anything as big a gun as you can possibly carry with the most capacity that's comfortable, that you will carry, that's what I would recommend. Because you got to realize, if we use this, our life's on the line. It's literally you or them, whether it's an animal or whether it's a person. If you draw your firearm, it's serious. It's not just like, well, if I miss the deer or what. No, it's not just whether you get a trophy on your wall or not. It maybe depends on whether you go home or not.
Right. Sure. Yeah, so you want some knockdown power, as best as you can possibly handle and conceal. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Because statistically showing, people survive handgun shots. They just do. They survive handguns. They do not survive rifle or shotgun. And I'm not saying there's never been a scenario where that's backwards, but statistically speaking, people will survive handguns. They will not survive rifle or shotgun.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've seen a lot of police shootings where, the bad guy will get shot at like 5-6 times and still not go down,
And he still may die 2 or 3 days later, but in that time, he's able to return fire. He's able to hurt an innocent bystander. He's able, you know what I mean? I like to, neutralize as absolutely quickly as possible.
Yeah, with authority. Yeah. I agree with that. I actually, believe it or not, my ADC is actually a 44. But some people think it's crazy, but with the right ammo, you can have different ammo for EDC that doesn't over penetrate, but then you could have ammo for it that you can use for home defense that's got a little bit more punch, when you're not worried about the over penetration, but it'll still knock someone down. Just as good as a slug, or well, maybe not as much as a slug, but still it puts it up there,
Yep. A 44 is a great option if you'll carry it. It's not might be too big for some people, as long as you carry it. Because what I'm saying is, if you get hit right here in the shoulder with a 44, even though that's not a vital area, that's not the bowling pin area. If I get shot in the arm right here with a 44, it's not going to go through. It's literally going to my shoulder. So if you're missing a shoulder, even though you didn't hit that bullet right where you wanted it, if you hit somebody right here, the odds of them attacking you and fighting you has just went way downhill, because they don't have a whole shoulder now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. If they're there to hurt your family or you, and they're in the middle of the night, and you put a round right here, all day, every day, I would take a 44 Magnum round to the perpetrator's shoulder right here any day as a 9 millimeter or 22 or 380 or something, because that may be the only shot you get because like I said, they may draw after that. They may, but if they get hit with a 44 Magnum, their intent just really.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to be tough to continue fighting after that, for sure. So have you been doing anything special to find ammo or reloading components? Like, do you have any tips for people on how they can find ammo? Everything's scarce now. What have you been doing?
Well, fortunately, like I said, I'm not trying to boast or anything, but I prepped years ago. So now when we're in this situation, I don't have to worry about. So I've not really done anything. Now, I still keep my eyes out. So if I'm somewhere and they have a good deal, fine, I will pick up some here and there. But if they want a war price for it, or they're asking $70 for a box of 9mm, no thanks.
Yeah.
And that's what being, I think, prepared is all about, so you don't get taken advantage of. Even if not a hurricane, natural disaster, just to have your stuff that you need. And now when everybody's running out and fighting over toilet paper, you can sit home and say, I'm okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. It makes a lot of sense. I've been actually looking around like unconventional places. Like I've had a lot of success. We have a Rural King near us. And they have a lot of ammo there, actually. It's weird, but people don't think to look in some places like sporting goods stores. Like we have this place called Dunham's. It's kind of like Dick's, it's like more for sports and stuff, but they have like a hunting section. People don't really go to those places. They think more like, oh, I'm going to go to Midway, or I'm going to go on Ammo Seek or something. Sometimes you go to like those odd areas like that and you'll find something.
Absolutely. Now the problem, everybody's different, but now we've got a Rural King. We got several of them here. Now the ones I've seen, everybody comes every morning just waiting to get something. Now they have had a lot of shotgun rounds, but no slugs, no buckshot, no turkey loads, just the target loads. So I actually did some ballistic testing with that, see if that's all you've got and that's what's available, would it do the job? We've got a Dunham's too. Absolutely. Now I don't know about where you're at, but now the Dunham's, where I'm at, the prices was outrageous. Now I've not been there lately, but I have noticed, because I'm like you. I'll go to flea markets, I'll go to pawn shops, I'll go anywhere and just look around, because if I can find a good deal, hey, yeah, sure, I'll get some. I'll stock up. I'm not a hoarder. I don't want to go buy everything they got so the next guy don't get anything. But if I see something here and there, I'll pick it up. But really, it's hard to find a decent deal right now if they can get anything at all. And then, like I said, some people have really just blown the price through the roof where no thanks.
Yeah, the prices are crazy. So what would you say if there was an SHTF in America, right? Like collapse of society, like total collapse, no more rule of law, not just a localized situation like Katrina, but basically like Katrina across the whole country. What do you think that would look like? I mean, what should people do to prepare themselves for something like that? As far as, you could talk about this for a day, but what are some things that stick out to you just right off the top of your head if something like that were to happen?
I was getting ready to say that this is a topic that you could talk for a month on, really.
Right.
But I'll try to condense it in my short version. But I'm a talker, so if I get going too long, just tell me, say, hey, cut it off, But long story short, I don't think it's going to look like people think it's going to look like, especially the guy that, like we talked about it earlier, is going to take a Bowie knife and go out and live in the woods. Literally, there's going to be gangs. There was, you see all these riders and looters, they just go and they just take whatever from whoever, and you're sitting there helpless. There's not going to be no police to call. There's not going to be, somebody to say, hey, this isn't right. This isn't yours. This doesn't belong to you. There's going to be gangs pop up. There's not a doubt in my mind. When people start getting hungry, when people start, doing without, they'll take from whoever and whatever they can. So even if you're out hunting, if they hear a gunshot go off, they're going to come and see what that, and if they see you harvesting a deer, I hate to say this, but if we really get to a place where people are starving, they'll kill you for that deer. Okay, they'll shoot you and take your deer. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm a big a proponent of having stuff to stay in till hopefully society gets going back up, so you don't have to be out of your house. And I have an alarm system. I have a way. You have to need somebody that needs to be on watch, just a matter of life. In that kind of situation, I've got a way to charge my battery on my alarm, so we always have alarms. We can always. I've got dogs. I've got ways to see, because people. I mean, they'll walk up and shoot your dog or whatever. But that would alert me. If the dog bark or something would alert me that something's going on out here. So I don't want to be out of the house really to get water. I don't want to be out of the house to get food. I want to be able to, when I say bug in, I mean literally bug in where we can defend the homestead and, have, means to do so. And I know that sounds mean and violent, but I've also got a wife and kid to protect in here, and I can't have looters or riders or people or gangs coming by. You know what I mean? So I just want to kind of send the message that this ain't the place, go hunt or fish or do whatever you want to do, but I don't want to be out trying to do that either and get caught in a bad part of town, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. What would you say are some like overlooked threats for SHTF that people don't really think about? I mean, we think about, the roving gangs and stuff like that. What are some other things that you think preppers don't really consider like threats, after society collapses, threats to themselves, their families?
To be honest with you, people they thought that they were their friends, or people that knew that you prepped. Because if they start getting hungry or they start running into trouble, hey, I know a guy, and I think you let people start getting hungry. Oh no, just because you sit at a pub with somebody and he's bought you a drink and you all have had a few laughs doesn't mean when he's starving that, you know what I'm saying, that you're going to still be his buddy. And I think there's a huge, people's trust level of society. People will lie from you, steal from you. I mean, you got friends run off with your wife or whatever. So what happens when they get hungry? What happens when they're dire? What happens when, I don't think people's friendships, and I hate to say that, I don't want to sound, not trust anybody, but I would be very careful with who you trust with what information and what people know about you, because what you say, there's what the law says, what you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. What you say and do can be used against you when people start getting hungry, when people start getting thirsty, when their kids start getting hungry, when there's shootings, when there's gangs, when there's problems. I mean, it's not going to be like Hollywood portrays it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's going to be very bad. Yeah. Now, what would you say if, okay, let's say you're bugging in, you have all your supplies, you have everything secured, you're doing, let's say you do like a daily patrol of your perimeter, whatever you're doing, overwatching, and you notice a family come to your property, and, they seem pretty nice. They don't look like they want to hurt you, or, they want food from you, though. They're asking you for food. We don't have supplies. My kids are hungry. We didn't prep. How would you personally handle it? It's a tough situation. Would you turn them back and say, I'm sorry? Would you give them something and tell them to be on their way? Or, how would you handle that situation?
I think it's easy to sit there and say, I do this or I do that, or I'm a good Samaritan, or I'm whatever. But I think, to be honest with you, depending on the situation. I mean, if we were in a snowstorm for 4 days, and Lord, I'd do anything they needed. I'd help them. But if we're talking where civilization has collapsed, and we're talking a month or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what if my kids start getting hungry? What if, and I'm willing to help anybody, but what if they find out I have food or whatever? And I don't want to sound like a hoarder, but if I only got X amount of food, and it's been 6 months, and my food supply is now starting to get low without me having to venture out, it's going to be hard for me to take food out of my kid's mouth. And it may not be what people want to hear. And people may think that I'm a terrible human being because, you should help this person. Like I said, in 4 days. Well, sure, who wouldn't? But
right.
You really put yourself in that situation. If you have to take food out of your kid's mouth, and you're already in a dire situation, it's going to be hard to. That's why I don't really want to be out. I like to stay in as much as I can in those type of situations, because wandering around is going to be a dangerous thing.
Sure.
I would like to think that I would help anybody, and I'd like to think that I would take food out of my own mouth, especially for a child. But how can I take food out of my child's mouth? You see what I'm saying? If it's been 6 months and there's no hope of, looks like anything being restored, then I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I had a better answer for you. I wish I could sound more civil and noble, but it's really a serious situation. It's something to think about.
Okay. Well, that was a good answer, though. I mean, at least you're, honest about it, right?
I try to be.
Now, let's just talk about current events. What would you say are some threats right now, internal or external, that really concern you, like that you're really worried about, possibly causing a collapse of society in the next coming years, or even this year? Is it World War III, EMP, cyber attacks, energy crisis, disease? What are some things, China, whatever, or what are some things that are on your radar that you're really following?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Everything that you mentioned, I can see tie hand in hand. I mean, if we start collapsing, if the economy, if things start happening, then you start seeing, like I said, something happens with the electrical grid. We go to war. I mean, there is a lot that could happen and really all tie in together with what you're talking about. I mean, the economy isn't going great. I mean, even right now, there's grocery stores that's got a lot of things that are empty. We got cargo ships out. Our gasoline has really gotten high. The middle class, and people's like, we live in a civilized society. I don't think we're as civil as people think we are. When people start going hungry, if things start really happening, like I said, if people will really fist fight over toilet paper in the middle of a grocery store, how's it going to be if things really start getting bad? They do start rationing stuff, or if what if all the electric device, you can't call, you can't, the computers are down or whatever. I mean, it's I don't want to sound like a doomsday, like an alarmist, but I don't think everything is as stable and as hunky-dory as a lot of people think society really is.
Do you think right now we're at a more vulnerable situation in terms of, would you say our world is the most unstable now that it's ever been in the last, 20 years? Would you say that the likelihood of something happening is higher now than in previous years?
I kind of feel that way, but I don't know. I mean, I can remember when the planes hit the towers, that fear I had, of just,
Right.
So I know there's always been trouble in the Middle East, but I do, China does absolutely worry me. They really do. I won't know. Yeah, I just think I can't really put my finger on like one of those things you mentioned and said, this is it right here. But to me, it's more like a cauldron, and like you got this cauldron boiling, and you keep dropping stuff in this cauldron. You know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of makes you feel uncomfortable. And the more that you put in, the cauldron's starting to bubble. I'm not saying that we can take some fire off and get the cauldron to go back down, hopefully. But if you keep adding stuff to this cauldron, things can boil out eventually, and we're going to be, left with a mess to clean up.
Wow, that's a good answer. I like that. Now, what are your thoughts about, have you ever heard of the New World Order, or like the Freemasons, Illuminati?
Absolutely. Yes.
What do you, this kind of, getting a little tinfoil hat here, but what are your opinions on that? Do you think that, it's possible that there really is, an agenda to take over the world, or, whatever their agenda is, to eliminate, the dollar and reset everything and create like a global currency and stuff? Do you think that that's something that's actually happening, you think, possibly?
There's no doubt in my mind. David Rockefeller said it himself. That's what he wrote in his own memoirs, that's what he wanted. That was his desire. And a lot of people don't know this, but look at the Georgia Guidestones. I mean, the Rothschilds, Soros. I mean, even biblically speaking, that's what it talks about, and that's what they're wanting, is a new world order, a one world government, one world religion. That's what's scaring me about America not being a sovereign nation. If we start just going to one world, we're going to be in real trouble. So there's no doubt about it. And you don't take my word for it. You can look this stuff up. Read David Rockefeller, his own memoirs. He said that he's in a cabal against the best interest of the United States to bring in a one world government. I mean, it's in his book. You can look that up yourself, and all the money he put into, you got the Rothschilds and you got George Soros. and then they're telling you this stuff, and they call it hidden in plain sight. But we're getting to the point now that's not really even hidden in plain sight. You know, with the Bilderberg Group and the Trilateral Commission and Bohemian Grove. I mean, and people can say I'm an alarmist, but this is stuff we said years ago that I'd watch. You know, and people say, "Oh, you're conspiracy," but now they're saying it themselves. So it's kind of hard to say that something's not going on. That's why part of our economy is in the shape it's in. They want to crash the dollar. There's no doubt in my mind. Why would you do these things if you want a growing economy? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm talking about Democrat, Republican, whatever. Even Bush Senior talked about a new world order. I mean, he's skull and bones. So, I mean, you know, there's some good people in government. Don't get me wrong, but there's still a lot of
right. Yeah. A lot of them are all connected together. Do you think that World War III is possible in our lifetimes? And if so, do you think that people are prepared for it now?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. And I don't think people are. I don't think we can honestly look at our generation and compare it to the greatest generation, the World War II generation. I mean, those guys were heroes. They were kids, and they invaded Normandy knowing for certain death, and they were happy to do it because they love freedom, they love country, they give their lives. Now we've got people that, you know, if they lose an election, their college campus has to let them play in Play-Doh. You know what I mean? We've got a generation that's you know, that they don't get their way. You know, Starbucks is closed and they have a meltdown. You know what I mean? And these greatest generation went over there and, you know, for freedom and fought communism and the Nazis. And, you know, we literally come back with no arms, no legs, no life. We lost, you know, kids and husbands and, you know, and family members. And they went over there and that's why they call them the greatest generation. So to compare our generation now with the greatest generation, I don't think it's even on the same map in ballpark.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, people can't even survive a couple days without power. Like you were saying, that guy that wanted to play Nintendo, right? I mean,
yeah.
Imagine if there's nuclear bombs going off, it would be total chaos. People wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. That would be. Now, have you ever seen, so this was kind of fun, have you ever seen the movie Red Dawn?
Oh yeah, I think every '80s kid seen the movie Red Dawn, and I remember that scared me at the time. And I you know, Russia, the Cold War, the evil empire. I mean, empire. Yeah. You know, I don't know really what may happen. But me personally, and I may be wrong, but I don't feel like we're going to get invaded like that. What I feel like more they're going to do is from the inside, through the economy, through maybe spyware, through mandates, through martial law, through more of a governing type. I don't think there's going to come and try to invade us. Yeah. Right. I mean, we've got a lot of elite forces and a lot of great military men and women, and of course they're trying to weed them out now too. But I don't think it's going to come from without like that. I think it's going to come more from within with spy networking. Cancel our computers or the grids, the electrical grid system, something like that would be my guess. What I would fear probably more than planes coming over here and dropping parachuters down, because that was another reason for the importance of the Second Amendment. I mean, you don't want to invade a country where every citizen's got a rifle. You know what I mean? You want to go to those unarmed ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always tell people like I remember a couple months ago, there was on the news, people were saying that China was in Canada and they were doing like drills in Canada and stuff like that. And I've always told my buddies, I said, I don't think any country would ever invade this country because number one, it's a huge landmass, and number two, you have the redneck army, You're
absolutely right.
I mean, just look at the Soviet Union had a hard time dealing with the Afghanistan, dealing with some guys in a cave. Imagine them trying to extinguish, 100 million gun owners possibly with, they're saying that there's 400 million guns in the hands of American citizens. I mean, that would be the largest guerrilla army in the history of the world.
Yep.
I don't think anybody wants to deal with that.
No. And that's another very important reason to have the Second Amendment. It sure is.
Yep. Yeah, it's not just about hunting. It's about protecting freedom. So
All
I had a good time.
Foreign and domestic.
Yep, absolutely. Foreign and domestic. That's right. Yeah, I had a good time. I'm looking forward to having you back on, and we're going to talk about personal defense. We'll get more into the firearms and carry weapons. I really want to see what you think about different things related to that, because that seems like a area that you're really knowledgeable in. So that'll be the next part. But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Check out the Kentucky Patriot on YouTube. I'll leave a link below this video to his channel. Like I said, he does a lot of good stuff, prepping, home defense, concealed carry, EDC, everything. He's a great guy, patriotic, obviously the Kentucky Patriot, great family man. So check his channel out. And I think you're almost at 10,000 subscribers, right?
I'd like to get there. I sure would. That'd be a great milestone for me.
Yeah, so if you guys could go over there and help him get to 10,000, that would be great. But thanks a lot for taking the time and you know, answering all my questions. And I'm looking forward to having you back on next time.
Thank you, my friend. It was an honor and a privilege. Thank you again so much for letting me be a part of this.
No problem. No problem. Take care.
You have a good evening, sir.